happened during my senior year. Our school was in a rough part of town, so lockdowns weren't exactly uncommon. But this one felt different from the start. We had just started our math test when the principal's voice crackled over the intercom.
This is a lockdown. Secure your classrooms immediately.
Our teacher, Mrs. Davis, quickly locked the door, and we all huddled in the corner of the room, out of sight from the windows. The room was dead silent, except for the occasional creak of the old building settling. I was sitting next to the classroom phone, the one connected to the main office, used only in emergencies. About 10 minutes into the lockdown, the phone rang. The sound was jarring in the silence, and Mrs. Davis looked at it with confusion. She hesitated, then answered it.
Hello?
She whispered. There was a pause, and her face went pale. She hung up quickly, and for a moment, she just stood there, staring at the phone. "What's wrong?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Mrs. Davis shook her head, trying to brush it off, but I could see she was shaken.
Nothing, just stay quiet.
She replied, but her voice trembled. The phone rang again, and this time she didn't answer. It rang and rang, echoing in the room, making everyone even more nervous. Finally it stopped, and the silence was more oppressive than before. Then, a few minutes later, the phone rang again. Mrs. Davis, looking terrified, picked it up on the first ring. She didn't say anything, just listened. Her face went white as she slowly put the phone back down on the receiver. "What is it?" someone whispered from across the room. Mrs. Davis didn't answer. She just whispered,
Stay quiet.
her voice cracking with fear. After what felt like hours, the lockdown was lifted. We all scrambled out of the classroom, relieved to be out of that tense situation. But as I was leaving, I saw Mrs. Davis speaking to the principal, her face still pale. Curious, I lingered just out of sight, trying to hear what they were saying.
That phone call.
She was saying,
It was someone breathing. Just breathing. And then they said they were inside the building.
The principal tried to reassure her, but I could see he was shaken too.
The office never called your room.
He said.
That line was disconnected months ago.
I froze. That phone shouldn't have been able to ring at all, let alone during a lockdown. To this day, I don't know who or what was on the other end of that line.